Welcome back, everyone, and we're back to broken record territory with the news. This is Sheepdog Smokey, ex-acting ICE director, sick and tired of Democrats talking about Trump's family separation. The former acting director of Immigrations and Customs Enforcement (ICE) defended President Trump on Friday on outnumbered overtime against accusations that the Trump administration's cruel policies have backfired. Congress had failed to close the loopholes that caused people to come to this country. And we talk about family separation. I'm really sick and tired of Democrats talking about Trump's family separation, Thomas Homan said, responding to a clip of 2020 Democratic presidential candidate Julian Castro. We go back just 1 year. His administration told us that if we could just be cruel enough to separate little children from their parents, that would deter, that would that would stop more families from coming from Central America to our border. And here we stand a year later, and actually the opposite is true. There are more people who are coming, Castro said on MSNBC Friday. Homan strongly disagreed with Castro and said Democrats were being unfair to Trump regarding policies built under former President Barack Obama. I was with ICE during the Obama years. Family detention was built under the Obama administration. We went from 100 family beds to 3,000 family beds in those so-called cages, which I don't call cages at all, but they call cages, were built as part of the Obama administration, Homan said. They've got to stop colluding or clouding the truth to the American people. The former ICE leader also believes the president will consider closing the southern border with Mexico as long as it motivates that country to work with the U.S. I think shutting down the border remains on the table, but Mexico has, the last few days, they're actually talking a lot of action. Sentence structure, people. So I think as long as they do that, that option will stay on the table, Holman said. It's very simple. The policy of separating minors from adults who bring them into the country illegal actually originated under President Clinton, as it was a judge that ruled children cannot be housed with adults while in detention at the border. So they are housed separately. Bill Clinton enforced it. George W. Bush enforced it. Barack Obama expanded on the policy. He actually overrode that and created family beds. So 100 to over 3,000 under Obama. There were no cages, as Homan said. That was a protest photo taken under President Obama. Do you notice a pattern here? President Barack Obama put in place a lot of policies that the Democrats had no problem with for 8 years. Now that those policies are actually being enforced under Donald Trump's administration, these are the most evil, bigoted things on the planet. And of course, President Donald Trump is the only one responsible for them, no matter the fact that maybe, he'd have to have a time machine. So Donald Trump has a time machine, and he made Obama do it. His people are insane. It's a very simple fact. Any nation's border is a sovereign nation's border. Every country on this planet has the innate right to legislate what the process is for legally crossing their border into their sovereign lands. And if you do so counter to those rules and laws, you are an illegal alien. And then you are dealt with according to that nation's laws. I've said it before. Cross illegally into Mexico. See what happens, and several years later, if you get out without dying, come tell me. Mexico has some of the harshest rules for entering their country and the harshest punishments for illegal entry into their country on the planet. But we're supposed to let anyone and everyone in, even with proof that we have murderers, rapists, drug dealers, human traffickers, and yes, even terrorists using our southern border to get in. People say walls don't work, but look at El Paso, look at Israel, look at Vatican City. Vatican City's had a wall for as long as I can remember. I don't know if there's any illegal immigration into Vatican City. When Israel finished their wall, illegal immigration dropped by over 90%, as did illegal immigration at the El Paso section of the border when that wall was built. But we get idiots like Jim Acosta going to McAllen, standing in front of a wall and saying, see, there's no illegal immigration here. We don't need the wall. And then, of course, Acosta cries like the little baby he is when people rightly point out there's no illegal immigration where you're standing because of that wall behind you. Of course, it's called bullying and rude and wrong when Sarah Sanders or Donald Trump or anyone really says, gee, Jim, thanks for proving our case is right. Now go somewhere that there's not a wall and don't take your security and see how well you fare. It's hypocrisy, plain and simple, and it always has been and always will be. We have Mr. Holman here. There was another gentleman who was uh, also worked under President Obama, who said, yes, we do have a crisis at the border. But these people are largely ignored because Jim Acosta, Stelter, Maddow, Joe, none of them can even fathom the idea that they're not always right. I've had many of these people that I've come across, met, or just seen, and the idea that I'm never wrong. So if I say there's not a crisis, you can't say otherwise. And all of that needs to be roundly responded to with, no, you're wrong about the border. You're wrong about when these policies were created, and you're wrong about never being wrong. It's insanity to me. But these people keep getting jobs in the media, jobs as journalists, and then when they actually admit, well, we don't investigate, we just report, and use that as a cover for spreading lies, and it's only one network that will actually interview a former director of ICE and have him on TV allowed to say, yeah, it was Obama that started all this, and yeah, we do have a crisis. The other media outlets either ignore it or try to discredit it. I'm honestly waiting on CNN to say that Mr. Holman actually never did work for Obama, and then to cry when proven wrong. I'm waiting for one of them to say that Mr. Holman is the most horrible, racist, bigoted Nazi demon on the planet, because, of course, we don't have a crisis. We need to let these people in. It's a broken record. None of them can, well, half of it's because none of them can even stand the fact that they're not being obeyed and that they're being pointed out as wrong. The other half of it is because the largest story in the country is the crisis at the border. And the thousands now marching in the so-called mother of all caravans, until the next one, toward our border, not being stopped by Mexico as they trample through and make the lives of Mexican citizens a living hell. Yes, I realize Mexico is not the best place on the planet to live, but it'd be a lot nicer if they enforced immigration laws when it comes to people trampling through their country to the U.S., as opposed to just coming in illegally and staying. But I've talked about this one long enough. Let me know what you think. Keep the comments classy, keep them civil. We don't learn from argument, we learn from debate. As I've said in other videos, I do not waste time when I know someone is unwilling to debate and when they're only here to argue. So, all of that said, there's nothing more to say. Make sure to like the video and please hit subscribe and ring notifications so you're first to know of any new future content, both stories like this, as well as when I'm finally able to delve into some new rabbit holes. Of course, you can always find me here on Twitter at SheepdogSmokey. Until next time, everyone have a wonderful day.